Hello collective, it's TimelessTiMarie and I'm back with another timeless reading for the collective. Welcome family, loves, soul tribe, and lost ones back to my channel. Give me a like, a share, and subscribe to my channel if you're vibing with my energy. We are now into 2024.
I pray that God continues to bless the desires of your beautiful heart this year and beyond.
We're going to go ahead and get a message for the collective. Remember that this is a timeless general reading. Take what resonates and leave what does not. Let's go ahead and jump on into the message. But first I want to say, again, we are now in January of 2024. And I really feel like it's been about reflecting on oneself. It's all about direction and where you're headed. They spoke to me and said, you have to know where you're going and you have to know where you're headed. And to me, that really touched on having a plan this year. And I feel like it's collective. Now have a sense of direction and it's time. I feel like in the past, we were so caught up on the destination. We didn't necessarily know what direction we were called to take or what path was meant for us. But I really feel like 2024 is about finding who you are and allowing that person that you find deep within to guide you. And often that person, your higher self, is the one being controlled by the Most High, by divine, by God, whatever your label is, but essentially by God, the creator of all things, is leading, and you are being asked to reflect and go deeper within yourself, collective, in 2024. I want to read to you what I wrote in my journal because, again, spirit really led me to this word today. So I had a full circle moment. The general topic was my direction, and I can be honest and say that I have lacked a sense of direction. So therefore it stopped me from fulfilling the plans that I may have journaled out of an idea and had a plan behind it, but didn't go all the way with it. It's like those little things. And you're being asked in 2024, I feel like, from your spiritual team, again, this is what they were giving me, to have a plan of action, actually take that leap to work towards the plan, and not just work towards it, make like I'm getting, have marks, have little goals. And again, I'm speaking to myself as well. This is just what spirit has reminded me, so I feel it's collective to share with you that we have to plan out our life in a sense. Of course, we can't control anything. Everything is simply out of our control and in God's hands. God holds it all. We can safely let it go. And that's beautiful because we don't want all that responsibility, because a lot of us, myself included, this is being brought to my awareness that we don't take responsibility in some areas of our lives. We try to plan things, let's say to start a business or maybe to eat better or to exercise. Some of us might plan, apply action for a few weeks. This happens a lot. I've been one to fall in the trap of, oh, new year, new me. It's so like basic to say, but it's irrelevant. New year, new me. Let's go to the gym. First 2 weeks, the first month of January, then come February and March rolls around. Are you still doing the same thing? Are you still being consistent? And I'm speaking to myself just like I'm speaking to you, collective. This is for all of us to wrap our head around. That's what I'm getting. That's the message today. It's like, what are you planning for? And are you actually planning for the long term, or are you just doing it for self-satisfaction in the moment? To say, oh, I planned and I did it, but how long did you stay consistent? Consistency is where you're gonna get your results, and that's speaking to me as well. Even me, I'm a witness to it, like with myself, in the sense that I'm a witness to how I fell back even on YouTube, because it's like, I have certain goals, but sometimes I feel like I've fallen short, but then I have to remind myself divine timing is always at play in my life overall, just like yours. So then you got to get out of your own way and say, okay, let's go back to the drawing board. I have to plan for something in order to make it move in my life. I have to apply that intention behind it in my life. I have control in that aspect where I can take responsibility of my actions and say, hey, I'm going to stay consistent. I'm not just going to go to the gym just in January for 3 weeks straight, or not even make it that long. I'm gonna stay consistent instead. And what am I doing wrong? That's what it is as well, collective. Look, this is in my spirit. This is in my soul. We don't need the tarot cards to receive this message right now. Yes, I'm a tarot reader, but I'm also intuitive. And I also receive messages from my guides and my team and what I believe is God speaking through me. I'm gonna share the message just like a prophet would. I believe we got to be ourselves in 2024. That's been something that's been hard for me, and I have to take responsibility for, because I can't be blinded by it anymore. I feel like that's relevant to some of you, and it ties into this whole message that what does it take to be consistent? You got to see where you are weak at. Why aren't you being consistent? Get to the nitty gritty, dive deep. And that's the message. And it goes back again to your plan of action. Know where you're going. Where are you headed? Again, you can't control the destination, so take your mind off of it. Instead, set your goals up. It's like, God, show me who it is that you want me to be. That's the question. Like, who do I have to become to get to that version of me that is approved by God? Not saying that God doesn't love us at all of our phases in life, because that he absolutely does. What I'm saying is, who is it that God made me to be? And I know I can take it there. I know I can get there. But why am I stopping me? That's another key. It's like it all comes down to us and self-reflecting. It's like there's something within us, right, that may stop us from being so consistent in our lives. And then we got to ask why. Where does it stem from? Because then it comes a question of, do I really want what I desire that bad then? If I'm not being that consistent at it, but I'm aware that I can have it? Do I really want it that bad? And if the answer is yes, why don't I have it? That's the thing with me, and I feel like with my collective that resonates. Like, we're so impatient sometimes with the fact that, oh, why don't I have it? If let's say I have been consistent, why don't I have it? Because you don't know how long you got to be consistent for. The day you give up, the next day you would have won. How about that? And that's something I got to remind myself as well. You don't need to know the time frame. I'm TimelessTiMarie for a reason, and it's a reminder to me. A lot of things are a reminder to me. Even some of my tattoos, they're a reminder for me. And I don't know why I'm saying that, but maybe this is relevant. Spirit reminded me of my own tattoo that it's a reminder to me, because I'm reminding y'all that it doesn't matter about the time. Timeless. You don't have to plan it when it comes to time. I mean, maybe you want to get something done in the next 6 months. Okay, that's not so bad. Maybe time it that way. But what I'm saying is, you can't put a restriction on when it's going to get done, because then you might give up when it's not done at that point that you saw out. Maybe you just weren't ready as much as you thought. So keep going, because one day you won't even know it. Your life is gonna go by. You're gonna be left with this one thing. Did I do the things that I desired, or did I just sit and wait? I'm somebody who has had to think about this too, because I've sat and I've waited. And then I had to question me. Why am I sitting around and waiting? Because what is that gonna do for me? What's gonna happen if I'm just sitting back and waiting? Don't get me wrong, there's a waiting season, of course, but what are you doing in that waiting season? Waiting isn't a literal term in the sense that you should just be sitting there waiting, doing nothing to evolve. You gotta put the work in. What are you doing to get yourself to that opportunity that you think you deserve? And again, I'm talking to me too, just like I'm talking to y'all. This is just the message Spirit is given for all of us involved. All of my collective right now who subscribe to my channel, who like my messages, who support me and believe in my message, because I haven't always believed in my message, but I knew it was supposed to be said out there for the collective, but I didn't always believe, because that's something in me. So we got to see where we're projecting, and we have to correct it or let it be. And if you just let it be, that means you waited for something to change and you didn't be the change. Instead, you got to be the change. Martin Luther King Day. I'm recording this on January 14th. Tomorrow is Martin Luther King Day, the 15th. And
Y'all, my apologies for mixing his name into like one. I believe I said Martha.
Martin Luther King say.
My apologies, Martin Luther King Jr. I was so hyped up in the spirit. My words were just flowing out.
You said, I had a dream. And sometimes that's what it starts with, a dream. But then we have to make a decision and run with it. Take that leap. And I haven't been leaping in certain areas of my life. And I know that's collective. I'm not the only one who hasn't taken the risk, because there's a challenge behind it. There's a challenge behind that risk. And it also comes down to how much do we trust ourselves not to fail? And do we trust ourselves enough to know that if we fail, we can stand back up? Do we trust ourselves enough to know that yes, maybe we don't have everybody behind us, but can we independently get it done, or at least start it? And then that might spark some type of attraction to you, attraction of those who are meant to come into your life to help assist you in whatever area this may resonate for you, where you have to take a leap and you haven't been leaping because you're so scared to. And I think it's important to admit that we're scared to leap, because then there's an awareness to the feeling of being scared, and it's okay to be scared. Don't run away from being scared, because that's when it gets buried. That's when you dig a grave and you bury it and cover it up with that dirt, and it never gets found again until one day you take a shovel to it and dig up them bones, them skeletons in your closet, and you say, hey, why am I scared? Why don't I trust myself? Let's take it back to my experiences, and how has this brought me to why I'm so scared to take a leap? Because yes, in the past, people hurt me. I put my all in people and they deserted me. Maybe I don't trust myself in my decision making. So how does that play a part in the relationships around me? How does that play a part in my decision making and my discernment, and how much I think I'm worthy of taking a leap and being successful in it? Do I think I'm worthy of being successful because I failed in the past? Am I worthy now? Have I learned that lesson of worthiness, of knowing that I am loved and I love myself enough to take a risk that's unconventional? If that means my soul is calling and speaking to me to create, is that what it takes to understand me, to truly love myself? How do we get to that version of us where we unconditionally love ourselves enough to have faith in not only God, but ourselves, to get the job done? And even if we fail, is it okay? Can we stand back up? That's the questions we gotta ask ourselves. And we can't just be so surface level about it. We gotta dig deep within it, because sometimes, yeah, you do have to self-reflect and introspect to get to the root of the cause of the pains that are blocking you from truly escaping this version of you that you've outgrown, but you're staying stuck and stagnant to, because you have closed yourself off in some area of your life, collective. And I feel like that's where you're going wrong. You instead can open up, you can blossom, you can bloom if you get to the core of why you haven't made a move in business, in friendship, at work, at anything in your life that you wanted to transform and evolve and grow. Are you stuck? Are you comfortable? Are you complacent? Why? You gotta learn. You gotta learn why. Why are you these things? Honestly, I think learning it is the difficult thing, because it's like you have to sit with yourself and you have to be completely vulnerable with just you, nobody else. Can you look at yourself in the reflection that you see and be comfortable enough to speak freely and not self-hate, but out of love, essentially? Not being your own worst critic, but instead seeing a different perspective and saying, hey, let me soften up. Let me lighten my own load. Let me maybe journal out why I'm in this place that I currently am in. Let me make myself a timeline. Remember we used to do that as a kid? At least I did in school. I remember making posters at school as projects. We used to have timelines and we would write the dates. Like 1998. I was born 1998, and then we would jump to what? 2002. How old was I then? Then we would jump to a memory back in 2006. Then we would do something else and something else and something else on that timeline. Let's do that. But instead, let's see where the crucial parts of our lives, and some of us, that means we got to go back and review what our traumas and what our wounds were trying to teach us. Is that something you can do? Because that's what it takes. That's what it takes. If you want to help heal yourself from that pain, you got to go back and reflect on why things have happened. You have to introspect. There's something about introspection, and that's heavy. Even I have to go back. You're never done, I believe, with introspection. It's just like healing. You're never done with healing. It's just evolution, constantly learning and growing within ourselves is to know oneself. And how do we know ourselves? By knowing all of ourselves and not hiding anything from ourselves. And of course, we're not going to get it all done. And of course, it's easier said than done. How does one start knowing themselves enough to go back to the beginning, trusting ourselves, going back to the beginning, trusting ourselves enough to be consistent and loving ourselves enough to be consistent, because with that consistency comes change. Change is going to happen regardless, but maybe we can help the direction of our change. I used to be a quote unquote victim of change, until I recognized that I can adapt to change, and change is healthy, and I no longer associate change as negative. In the past years of my spiritual journey, I have associated change in some parts of my timeline. And just for example, say back in those times, why was I so afraid of change? Because I have to reflect and say, hey, for me personally, I'm just giving you an example, but this is something that I'm trying to demonstrate that you can do to maybe help you reflect, journal it out. And for me, I would say, hey, I'm maybe afraid of change because back at this time, the most darkest time in my life, couldn't see myself in the mirror. I couldn't see who I was anymore because I was in a domestic violent relationship, because I was so broken, because I was so torn. What was I actually learning? And when all of my closest friends no longer were my friends anymore, when my relationship ended with the person that I connected to the most in friendship, when I no longer could see my godson, when I had to move maybe 6 different times within the last 3 years, when I couldn't rely on my family, when I couldn't speak freely, when I was being restrained, when I couldn't pay my bills, when I had to sleep in my car, when I was giving all of me to someone who just couldn't even handle the fact that I was a born star, when everything was changing for the worst. Maybe that's why when change happens now, I shy away. Of course, I adapt right now, but what I'm saying is, when everything was happening so fast, changes were happening back to back to back, and they were all what I saw as negative, because I was going through a very dark time where I was losing all of my friends, where I was losing my mind. It was COVID. I was alone. I was a hermit. I was in isolation. I was in a period of truly looking at myself and having to heal from the things that I haven't talked about, and nobody seemed to know. And I felt like the ones that I did let in and completely was vulnerable with sharing my stories of being physically someone's punching bag, and mentally having to deal with someone who would claim they were suicidal only to get my attention, to flip it on me and make me think I was going crazy and that I was the problem, when it was them manipulating me, and having to deal with a lot of different things that people didn't understand. I think sometimes we associate change and transformation with a lot of negativity, and we get stubborn and we don't want to change, and we're scared of change, and it stems from something. And for me, what helps me is to truly reflect. And I had to build up this, it's like levels to reflection, because when I first started to reflect, I was very broken. So I would relive the moments, and I would hold on, and it would be hard for me to get over my own emotions. But then as time went on and I practiced and I meditated and I got closer to God, it really was healing me in the process, because it sooner got easier to sit with myself and say, everything that I have gone through, everything that I am today is because of the things that once taunted me. All of my mistakes became miracles because I started practicing self-love. I started listening to frequencies. I started meditating. I started tarot. I started reading. I started journaling. I started being out in the sun and taking nature walks and taking time away from the technology. I started getting closer with myself. And when I started getting closer and building that relationship with myself, God started speaking to me. And I started recognizing gifts that you see when I make these messages for the collective. It is without a question a part of me. That I am clairvoyant, that I am able to speak because Spirit speaks through me. And I didn't always know this, and sometimes I collapse and I go back and I lose focus and I can't remember who I am, because I start to remember everything that has happened and all the people that I lost that I absolutely attracted because of my broken heart. And then I had to self-reflect and see where I was broken at, and then I started working on it. And how did I start working on it? By choosing me, stopping the people pleasing, by stopping certain people from having access to me, by truly protecting my energy, and little by little I started seeing my worth even more. And then I started focusing on my health. And then I started focusing on what I needed more of when it came to the reflection of myself and how I saw myself and all the things that I was so shameful of, the past that I had created for myself because of all the pain. I think what's very important for my collective right now is to focus on how you can adapt. Again, going back to the beginning, your sense of direction, having a plan, because you have a purpose. Know that you have a purpose because you reflected on all the things that you are so deserving of. And you didn't just say, it's just something I can imagine. It's actually something I can accomplish if I can put the work in and just go after it. I gotta burn that old bridge with myself that used to tell me out of habit and things that I learned that I was not worthy enough to be my own boss, perhaps, or I wasn't worthy enough to have my dream body or to be my own body goal, or that it wasn't magic. Like, I am magic and you are magic. We are all magic. We are manifestors in this life. We create everything in this life just by our thoughts. And our thoughts, it's like we gotta think it into life. We gotta think it into physical form. We have to plan. We have to have a direction. And it reminds me of this fortune cookie. It says, chance favors the prepared mind. This fortune cookie that I received around Christmas time. Chance favors the prepared mind. Lucky numbers 52, 13, 11, 28, 41, and 25. You could be these ages, or those numbers could be significant on your timeline. I also wrote down here with that, it's okay if you get lost, but still have that sense of direction. Know where it is that you wish to go. And when I say that, I say it lightly in the sense that don't worry about the direction when you plan it. Just know where you're headed. Because if you don't know where you're headed, at least, then you're never gonna get there. You're never gonna reach who it is that you're meant to be if you don't at least try to plan out your life, in the sense that, where do I want to be in the next 6 months? Who do I want to be? How well do I want to know myself? How well do I want to be my own body goals? How well do I want a better life for myself? How well do I want to attract those opportunities that are golden ticket, that Willy Wonka chocolate bar in my own life? How can I attract that opportunity? It's by being what it is that you desire, in the sense that you have to exercise if that's your goal. You have to eat healthy if that's your goal. You have to buy that camera to start that YouTube channel. You have to get it going. Again, I've said this in a past reading. You have to get the ball rolling in some area of your life, in the sense that you cannot sit there waiting. Know where you're headed. And if you don't know where you're headed, it's okay. Because maybe you're sad inside. There's a little bit of sadness. Because maybe you disappointed yourself in the past, and that's why you don't know where you're going, because you were headed somewhere. You got disappointed and you stopped. You thought it was over. You stopped being consistent. Somewhere, some way, somehow, you stopped. You gave up in a certain area of your life, but you gotta rewind. You gotta draw your timeline out and let me go back a few years. Where was I? And in the sense that I'm not reliving the pain. Or I'm not going back in the past to think I can change the past. No, I'm going back in the past to understand why my actions were made. Where does it stem from? And maybe there's no more sitting back and just watching my life go by. Instead, I'm going to create that timeline and reflect and find out why. Because maybe in that why is the missing piece of the puzzle of who I am inside. Maybe if we can go back in time, we can see our patterns and our habits and how some of our patterns and habits don't align with who we are trying to become and who we actually are inside. What does it take? What does it take? You got to ask yourself, and I got to ask myself, what does it take to get to that next level? Because it's 2024. How old are you? It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Just know that it's 2024, the year of abundance, number 8. You can create anything in this life. You can create it and dream it. You can create it and you can bring it to life. But what does it take? Where's your direction? Where's your sense of direction? What are you preparing yourself for? You have to prepare. You have to prepare. Because if you don't prepare, again, you'll stay exactly where you are right now. Because you're not working towards anything. You have to have goals in life. And I'm not saying be so hard on yourself. Oh my God, what is this goal? Don't feel pressured about it. Let it come to you. What are you interested in? Where do you see yourself? And that has been a hard question for me. And let's say in the sense of career, it's been a hard question for me. I'm not going to lie and say it hasn't been. I feel like a lot of people can sit there and resonate with me that it's not easy knowing. Sometimes it doesn't just come to us. Sometimes we get stuck in routine of the 9 to 5 and the things that we were told. I'm not going to sit here and act like I'm not a part of it too. And that's okay to admit that you're a part of it. Some things we can't run from because it's right here in our face. But again, you got to be the change. You got to be the change. You got to be the change. You see everything around you and it doesn't look like what you want to be, you got to change your environment. You got to change the environment inside of yourself and say, I'm not settling for this version of me when I am capable and competent of the greatest things in life, that I have ideas, I have passions, I have interests. What are you interested in? Find it. How do you find it? Spend time with yourself and really get to know who you are in 2024. What did 2023 teach you? Reflect. Reflect, reflect, reflect. Are you at a financial disadvantage? Are you weak in certain areas? Tweak certain areas and refine certain areas of your life. It doesn't come overnight. You have to plan. You have to draw out your life. And even if you map out your life, it's not going to go as planned always. But sometimes it might. It's all about the action. It's all about the action, and it's all about your mind self-reflecting. When you think back of the past and you are trying to find those answers of who you are, remember to show yourself kindness and give yourself love and acceptance and be like the dove, be at peace. Give yourself that offering. Say, hey, past version of me who I might still be living in today, you are beautiful, and everything you've gone through, it's okay. It's shaped you, it's molded you, it's prepared you for today. So let's prepare ourselves for the future versions of ourselves. 6 months from now, God bless us, that timeline. 6 months from now, who do I desire to be? And I'm not just going to desire it in the sense that it's just a thought. I have to really crave it. I have to want it so bad that I become that person that I desire. I want this amount of money. How do I get it? Think outside the box. Think bigger than just yourself. Think of all the resources and the tools around you that you can use to elevate yourself. That's what I'm really getting here. And again, I'm speaking to myself. I'm not just speaking to you, collective. This is a message for all of us to take in, take heed to. And just remember that you are loved, and God has created you for a reason, and you have a purpose, and you have the ability to seek that purpose. And if you seek and you're consistent and you give your glory to God, one day you will see yourself in the mirror and say, I am proud of everything I've ever done, because you will be a believer, and that believer is an achiever, and you will fly like the dove, peaceful, within yourself, and you will not worry about anything that may have been causing you pain in the past or any anxieties that you have had to face. You won't worry too much about it because you'll be able to detach. Because you'll be able to look at yourself in the face and say, I can't run from my past. I can embrace it. I can claim that I am somebody who has conquered all the things that have been sent my way to destroy me and keep me where I was at, complacent. But I won't ignore me, that person in me. I won't ignore that person so full of light and creativity. I am a manifester, and therefore I will manifest the life of my dreams, and only then will I understand that I am capable of so many things. I will understand that I can trust myself. I want to share something with you in my journal. I wrote this on 1/11/24, first new moon of the year 2024 in the zodiac sign Capricorn, cardinal sign. And I feel like something that I've had to learn within myself, and again, maybe you resonate with this collective, and maybe it's something that can help you piece your puzzle together, what I'm about to share with you that I've had to learn. And I've learned this on the new moon in Capricorn, our first new moon on January 11th 2024 that just passed a few days ago. I learned that, this is what I wrote. I said, my intentions are clear. I desire to not just initiate, but to plan, create, and finish. I have a habit of starting but not always finishing what I start. I set the intention moving forward to not just dream, but to create a reality out of my dreams. To create. And then I started listing the things that I wanted to create. And I wanted to share that with you. That's very personal because that's something I wrote in my journal. But I share that with you because I feel like maybe it will keep you hopeful. That we all struggle in some type of area, but we have the ability to go and reflect and get in tune with ourselves, and we are able to find the answers within ourselves. I spoke to myself and said, I am an initiator. I initiate things, but sometimes I don't always finish what I start. And that for 2024 is one of my goals. I want to share that with you because I encourage you to find out where you may be weak, then set a goal to overcome that weakness. My goal is to be clearer on my intentions. Therefore, I'm clearer on my plans that I have to take, the steps I have to take in that plan to get to my goal that I plan to reach. And I can't just plan it anymore. I can't just initiate that first step of planning in the sense that I got to take it to the next step. After I've planned it, the next step of that plan, what's that next step? Is no longer just writing out my intention, but now we are clear on the intention that we set the intention. We got to go get that intention and bring it into reality. We got to take what it is that we've intended to succeed at and not just have it appear in the mind. We have to bring it to life. And that's what I'm getting for all of us. Again, I share that with you. That's something that is a part of my goal, to get more clearer on the direction that I am trying to take. And therefore, I know on that road, my direction, I'm trying to reach a certain destination. And I may not know how I'm going to get there, but at least I have a general plan of what it is that I accept as my reality. Even if it's not my reality right now, but what I accept, my dream house, my dream family, my dream marriage, my dream everything, my dream business, my dream body, my dream way of living, my dream way of eating, whatever my dream may be. Take it how it resonates. Whatever your dream may be, you got to see it. You got to visualize. Visualization is a very important tool, a spiritual tool that you can use during meditation. And that's something even I have to get deeper and deeper, more familiar with, in the sense that I should practice it more often if I know about it, right? And it's little things like that. So that's a perfect example of how I might know something. I might initiate it in the sense that I've researched it. But after that, did I stay consistent? No. That's just an example. I have this awareness that visualization is something very powerful when it comes to manifestation, visualizing something to come into your life, right? I know that example. Again, this is just an example to get my point across in the sense that whatever that is for you, I am aware in my mind that it's a tool out there that can be used, but after I've initiated that, in the sense that, okay, I may have researched it, so that was that action behind my initiation, in the sense that, okay, I understand that visualization is something that can be done. Now let's go past that. When am I being consistent, in the sense that now that I know that visualization is a thing, again, this is just an example, take visualization and apply it to your own life. This could be, oh, I know that eating a certain way, this certain diet is very beneficial to me, or I know that working out, doing cardio, or doing whatever works for my body type, so let me continue doing this. Let me continue doing this so it works out in my life. That's what I mean. Let's continue. Find that thing that you have to continuously do in your life that will elevate you, because it's elevating who you are inside. In the sense of physically, mentally, spiritually, emotionally, it's uplifting you. Find that thing that uplifts you and be consistent at it. And it will open many doors for you to start seeing yourself from a higher perspective, and start seeing other people from higher perspectives, and being more patient with people. I believe patience comes when you start seeing things in a different light, because then you have a chance to be like, you sit back and see, wow, maybe that person is right, and maybe in the past, if I came across this situation, I would have thought they were wrong. But in the sense that you have to reevaluate your life. You have to reevaluate where you have been doing things quote unquote wrong, or they're outdated, or you just have to get right, in the sense that you got to tighten up and get something else going in your life. You have to do something else in your life. If you're stuck, if you're having a midlife crisis, if you don't know where your life is going, you got to get clear on why. Why don't you know where your life is going? Have you taken responsibility? Have you taken responsibility? That's that answer. I can answer it for you. It's no. If you don't know where you're going, it's because you're not taking responsibility for yourself. You are a being. You are a being. You are a being. You are a soul living in a human being body, and you are just in this human experience, right? But take the reins on it. Take control, in the sense that, know that you can't control anything, but take control in the sense that you take responsibility for your actions and what you allow to come in and out of your life. The people, the environments, the places, the beverages, the foods that you put in and out of your body, things, the habits, the patterns, everything that may be damaging to you and who you stand for and what you stand for. Are you still doing it? What do you stand for? And you gotta get clear on what you stand for and what you allow. And you gotta get clear with the number one person, which is yourself. The person you see in the mirror, you gotta be in tune with that person in the mirror. You gotta know who you are, in the sense that, hey, you might not know, in the sense that you gotta know who you are, in the sense that you have to build that confidence within yourself over time, to know that you have survived. You have survived everything that was tearing you down and breaking you down for so long. You have played a certain role in your life that just doesn't help you get to the person you wish to become. You got to surround yourself with more people who have the things that you want. Hello, collective. We're going to take this brief moment to pause, just like we would when we are called to self-reflect. We take that moment within ourselves to pause and possibly breathe and take in all the energy that we are. In part 2, you will receive the remainder of my already recorded message, including divine cards, to wrap up and tie in the message today that you may have resonated with. Go ahead and click part 2 to receive more, and enjoy.